If you had one opportunity to tell developers from GGG about an issue in Path of Exile 2, what would you tell them? Hi YouTube, welcome to another video. Today it is going to be a special one because I want to talk about Path of Exile 2 and not just talk about it, look back into the past 1 month since day one, since it released, and talk about the things I really like and dislike. The way I usually do those videos on my channel is I just share my opinion with you folks, but I love to see your opinion in the comments below. And let's actually categorize this and add a little bit of categorization to this based on the different stages in the game. I will talk about campaign, early game, mid game, and end game. End game is going to be considered level 15 maps and above, you know, the more difficult maps, the bosses, the citadels, the pinnacle stuff, all this jazz. With that being said, let's talk about the campaign. The campaign, in my opinion, is a unique experience that everybody needs to experience. It is difficult. The way that I played the game a month ago is pretty much raw. I went in there without having any knowledge about Path of Exile, without having any idea how to build a character. I picked the ranger. I went for Pathfinder. It was a raw playthrough for me up until mapping. It took me a little bit longer than obviously the PoE professionals that have been doing PoE 1 for many years and know all the passive skills and how to build characters on all this jazz. But that was not important for me. For me, important was to get through the campaign, experience it in a unique way without any help from the side, without watching any videos, trying to figure out mechanics through videos. I literally sat down and went through the entire campaign up to endgame mapping by myself. So self-found, without me having any idea what I'm doing. And now if I look back into the recordings, into the videos, into my thought process of me trying to build a character, it was terrible. I had zero clue what's going on. Now I feel way more comfortable. Now I can say that I can actually sit down and theory craft and think about how to build a character because I kind of already understand the passives, stats that you would want to have on a weapon, on a chest piece, on a neck piece, and all these things, you know. Long story short, with me playing the game for a month, I definitely learned a lot about the game with minimal engagement with YouTube videos and content creators doing research and all this stuff. You know, I just sit down and play the game, try to figure it out yourself. That's the challenge. That's the thing that drives me when I play the game. There is no fun in being carried. There is no fun in, you know, knowing the mechanics before you actually do the boss fight itself. In my opinion, it is a 100 times more. You will give you a more higher level of satisfaction if you go through those things by yourself. However, that's me. Other people might be different. They want to go through this content as fast as possible, which I respect. You know, it's your decision how you want to play the game, and I'm nobody to tell you how to do it. Right? I'm just telling you my opinion of what I think is the proper way to do it. Again, no one will judge you ever. Play the game like you want to play it. I believe the campaign was amazing. It is a tough challenge to go through all the bosses, to all the mechanics for the first time, especially when you have no clue, but it is rewarding. After you complete it, you feel this level of accomplishment, which is really satisfaction. Let's move to mid-game. Mid-game, in my opinion, is a state of the game that is really non-existent right now, or it is so short that you kind of forget about it really quick. So mid-game, probably in my understanding, would be something Act 3 cruel mode to level 10 maps. This would be probably mid-game, or some people will say mid-game actually starts once you unlock cruel mode. Maybe. I don't know the real definition of mid-game. What I do know about mid-game is this is probably the first reality check for you as a player to actually probably try to sit down and think about your gear, think about optimizing your gear, because you simply cannot push more difficult content without doing that. What I've experienced when I went through building my Pathfinder Poison Ranger, what I've experienced with that is this was the time where I had to sit down, look at my passive skills, look at the ascendancy passives, play around with those, refund some, add some new ones, change some, you know, stats on my weapons, on my quiver, on all those stuff. You know, it was a time where I had to, you know, unlock the full potential of my brain, to really sit down and theory craft and think about how I can actually make my character stronger. However, this part of experience, this mid game section, if you will, kind of short. I remember that it took me probably less than a day to transition from level 1 maps to probably level 13 and 14. Like just a day of optimizing and sitting down and thinking and theory crafting and all this jazz. Technically speaking, I think mid game could be a little bit longer, maybe. Not sure. What do you guys think about mid game, and what do you think is actually mid game in this game? Let's talk about end game. End game is something that I spend the majority of the time in, and probably most of you guys as well, running those level 15 maps, doing those bosses, looking for those citadels. Yesterday was the first day I found a citadel after doing maps for 3 weeks. Lol. Anyways, citadels and breaches and deliriums, expeditions, rituals, all those things. I think those are very cool mechanics in Path of Exile 2 in the mapping system. Obviously, those are some from PoE 1. The mechanics and people that have been doing expeditions previously or deliriums and all those kind of things, those are no new things for you. The only downside to those mechanics in the game, what I would say currently, are that obviously breaches is probably ranked highest in terms of profitability for you to make the most, exiled / divines per hour, or just grinding breach stones and going for the breach boss kills and all this jazz. Probably right now they are the most profitable thing, which makes me think that GGG hopefully will adjust those things and balance out the other events that you could encounter in those maps. For example, expeditions. I think that expeditions are pretty cool, but they're not that rewarding. In general, I do think that needs to be balanced a little bit so that people really can decide, all right, I don't like breaches, let me go for expeditions, so that I have some kind of an equal type of reward if I grind those things. Now let's talk about the downside of breaches and in general all those late game events that you could encounter in mechanics. The biggest downside is optimization right now. And I'm pretty sure that the developers know about this. They are aware that the game is not super optimized for late game content where the maps become pretty juicy, where your breaches, your FPS goes from 120 FPS down to 40, 30 FPS. It's unplayable. It's unplayable. It's not satisfying to see a super blurred screen of you trying to figure out what is going on. And to add up to this, imagine you also not only play by yourself, but you play in a party with your friends or your guildies. Just you also see all the effects of other characters. And obviously in late game, the area of effects and in general, like the effects are gonna be so juiced up. There will the fact that there is no filter for you to turn off other people's skills or tune them down, at least opacity wise. This is an issue. I think this needs to be added as a feature in the future patches for sure. But in general, like game optimization needs to be done ASAP. This is one of the things that a lot of people complain about and talk about constantly. And I think this needs to be addressed, and I'm pretty sure they will fix it. This is, optimizing their own game. It makes sense. They'll do it. Hopefully soon. Let's talk about another issue that I do think is, pretty common and it's going to develop who knows in what direction. But let's talk about the trading. I initially started as self-found until I figured out that some friends are playing PoE as well, and then we reconnected and started playing as a guild and started helping each other out and all this good stuff. With trading, there is one downside though. There is going to be always those farmers, people that are gonna pay real money to buy stuff, people that in the first place are gonna go out there and try to sell stuff for real money, right? This is RMT is just it's not good. I don't recommend it, folks. Don't spend money on stuff like this. You'll lose your money and you'll get banned. Not worth it. One of the bigger major issues right now with in the trading league is obviously also people duping items. items. We're exactly 1 month since the game launched. Give or take, first 1 week is everybody getting started with the character. And then the remaining 3 weeks, for 3 weeks, people were able to grind mirrors, to grind hundreds and thousands of divines, not talking exalts anymore, like divines. People are overfloating the market already. They're just, the prices are through the roof. With that being said, the market overall is a very easy way to, work around yourself by just playing self-found. It clicked for me why the majority of the bigger content creators are actually playing self-found, where this is hardcore or softcore self-found. It makes sense. I started as self-found. It was a very, very unique and cool experience to be able to actually craft and look for your items by yourself without just simply going and buying an item that has 3 types of resistances or 3 stats in it and all this jazz. You know, it gives you a different type of gameplay vibe in general. I do think moving forward, once the game really releases, I will transition to self-found. Never hardcore, because my internet is so garbage. I would never be able to play hardcore. Even if I would, I wouldn't, because the game is so difficult itself and there's so many one-shot mechanics that, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to play hardcore. But anyways, self-found is the way to go to tackle this issue right now. If you really want to enjoy the game as its fullest potential without the trading, putting the trading aside, you can absolutely do that by doing and playing self-found. And I recommend it. It's a good experience this way. If I have to recap in general my thoughts about PoE 2, I do believe it's a great game. There still has to be done a lot of optimization, and obviously we still haven't seen a lot of the content that hasn't been even teased yet. We are talking about more classes, more skills, more passives, more support gems, more mechanics probably in the game. Everybody's speculating about future leagues and seasons and all those stuff. Let's see what GG has been cooking. Everything so far that they released as a game, as a standalone early access game right now, in my opinion, is huge. It is very good, but obviously it needs some optimization. Would I recommend playing Path of Exile 2 to a friend? Absolutely. It's an amazing game. It is worth a try. It is difficult. You will be challenged. You will die a lot. You will say that the game is shit or that you're lagging, but in reality, just get good, bro. Just sit down and play the game.